Being retired and financially free sounds incredible, but yet over and over and over again, when you study retirees and those that have achieved financial freedom, you see that they have a lot of massive regrets. So let's talk about the 6 biggest regrets that people who hit financial freedom or retirement actually have, so you guys can avoid them before you ever get there. So number 1, they wish they retired sooner. I think this one's pretty obvious, and I think all of us can kind of think through that logically and go, yeah, I definitely could see to where I wanted to retire earlier. But what you disproportionately find is all the reasons that we make today for not taking retirement seriously, or for deciding, I'm not sure I want to leave, I'm not sure I want to go or not. Disproportionately, those that actually went on ahead and made the leap, one of their biggest regrets is they wish they would have done it sooner. Because obviously, as you get older, time is very, very finite. Of course, you have less time on this earth the longer you let it go, and you start to realize how little work actually meant in regards to all the other great things that you can do in your life. Now, if you happen to do some of the other regrets we're going to talk about here, or some of the other things we talked about on this channel all the time in some of my other videos, well, you may still be in for some regret regardless of even if you retire early. But that's usually due to lack of planning, lack of a lot of other things of that nature, which we could talk about all the time right here on this channel. But one of the biggest regrets, and obviously the most obvious one here, is that they just wish they would have retired earlier. So next up, they wish they would have gotten in shape. So you're finally retired, you're finally able to be financially free, do whatever you want, work whenever you want, and you realize your health is not only poor, but it's a lot worse than you thought it was whenever you were working. And so a lot of folks wish that they would have gotten better shape, or they retire and they lounge around and do nothing, right? They live that quote unquote dream of sitting on the beach and drinking Mai Tais, and what they find is their health declines extremely fast because they never actually took their health seriously while they were working. And then, of course, when they come into retirement, everybody says they're going to get in more shape. I got more time. I'll get into it. But the reality is all those other temptations that you kind of wanted to do, maybe not done, or maybe not done to the extreme you're going to do now, all of a sudden you can do it and you don't really suffer a lot of consequences for it. So what happens? You end up doing it, and then you have health consequences later on down the line. So that, again, is another regret that they have, is that they never took their health seriously and got themselves in shape either before retirement or shortly after retiring. And of course, it ends up having massive consequences in terms of your quality of life in that retirement, during that financial freedom phase, whatever the case is. Make sure you guys out there are getting healthy, eating healthy, working out, doing all those things that you need to do so that way you can enjoy retirement and not live with that regret. Number 3, not spending more early in retirement. Now, this one right here is a little bit different, right? Because you think, hey, I'm retired, I'm free, I can do what I want to do at that stage. But you would be shocked as to how many retirees, how many people that hit that financial freedom number don't spend money out of fear. They let fear dictate their decision making at that stage. And of course, let's say you retire at 50 something, right? If you don't wait until you're 70 something to try to do something you should have done when you were 50s because you're afraid, hey, what if the money goes bad? What if the stock market goes bad? Playing the what if game all day long instead of having a solid plan and moving forward and maybe having a few backup plans for income, right? We've discussed that as well. It's a big part of the blacklist, is simply creating something that you love that doesn't feel like work anymore. So that way you can do it when you want to. You're kind of location independent in some cases, to where you can do it anywhere you want, anytime you want at that stage, to draw in more income if needed. So it kind of alleviates that fear a little bit. But disproportionately, that's one of the biggest, if not the biggest fear when you first retire, is what if I run out of money? What if something happens there? And what it ends up doing is, instead of during your best times when you should be traveling the most or doing the most because you physically can, people wait too long to spend that money. And then when they finally do, they realize, oh, everything's just fine. I planned, didn't work out exactly how I like, but I'm still in a much better spot. If you have a great plan to begin with, you're in a great spot on the back end here. And I definitely could have spent that money and had those experiences early in life, maybe with your grandkids when they were younger, right? Good luck taking, older grandkids to do some of the things you could take younger ones to, and they think you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. But, you try to take them when they're 18, they're just be like, oh, okay, whatever. It's a total waste of money at that stage. Don't fall into that trap there. I'm not telling you blow up your budget or anything else like that, but trust the numbers that you have there. Trust the planning that you've done. And if you don't know how to do any of that sort of stuff, well, I got the blacklist right here for you. You can do it. We lay it all out for you step by step. Obviously, there's all kinds of different tools, courses, free resources right here on YouTube. Tons of different places for you to go to find that. But get those numbers solid, and then don't be afraid to spend what you budgeted out for in that retirement. Number 4, wish I traveled more. Very, very common one. I can't think of a single retiree or financial free person that I know that doesn't say that. Lots of people have plans for it, but it's amazing how those plans always seem to fall through, right? One of the biggest traps here in America, I believe, is the fact that you end up with, you end up with a white picket fence, right? And the home to where all the grandkids can come home. And then you got your 2 cars and everything else. Well, you can't really travel at that stage because you got so much money tied up and it costs you so much to live right here where you're at. Man, going on a 2-month vacation to Europe doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense, right? One, you may not be able to afford it. Two, even if you could, well, somebody's got to take care of the house. Somebody's got to take care of the cars. We create our own little traps within our own retirement that don't allow us to travel and get out there and see and do all the things that we talk about. And then you fall into those comfortable norms when you're kind of little routine things there instead of getting out there and exploring and traveling more. And then at some point in time, you're either not able to travel or you decide to finally start traveling and you end up in that spot where you say, hey, I wish I would have traveled more. So it's very, very common. I've heard it from every single retiree that I know. Some of them I remember having big plans for travel whenever they retired. And then the moment they've retired, moved on in life, here we are a decade later, still aren't really traveling at all. So, it's kind of one of those things. It's very, very common. And it's definitely a regret for a lot of retirees. Number 5, wish I planned post-retirement more. This one is another common refrain that I hear. One, most folks aren't planning for retirement, period. Retirement is just it'll happen one day, and they're not actually setting forth a plan, executing towards a plan to get there. But what happens is you do have folks that are diligent. They're diligent for 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years, get to that retirement point, and then they have no plan for what's next afterwards. So they're it's like this build up, bang, you retired, great. And now you've got to figure out what's next in life. And unfortunately, it's very, very hard, especially if you haven't been having those discussions. If you got a significant other, now all of a sudden, retirement may mean 2 completely different things to you guys. One wants to travel the world. The other one wants to stay close and take care of the grandkids. Well, those don't mesh. You're going to have problems there. And a lot of times when you see those problems, what ends up happening is they end up doing nothing because they can't agree on something. Or you hear of a lot of folks retiring and then declining quickly. This is the reason why. They don't have a purpose. They don't have a next step. It's just go home and sit and watch TV because you never planned anything beyond that. So that ends up being what you're doing. You just distract and entertain yourself to kind of just basically live. That's why they decline so quickly. So planning that post-retirement life is a regret you don't want to have. Plan out exactly what that is. That's why I have it in the blacklist. That's why you'll see it on multiple different checklists for retirement, things of that nature. Have that next evolution in your life there, regardless of what it is. Be a fitness influencer, travel the world. It doesn't matter what you decide to do, but have something planned out for you to execute to in that retirement phase, or you're more than likely going to end up with a lot of regret sitting in front of that TV. So definitely make sure you take this into account so you don't end up regretting not planning for it. And the final one, they wish they would have pursued their dreams. Very, very common. I'm sure we've all heard it. They didn't take any risks. They took the safe route the entire time, and then they're towards the end of their life, and then they wish they would have at least tried their dream, at least pursued it, regardless of what it is. Obviously, that changes over time. There's roadblocks for various different things, but it's amazing to me how many people never even try in the first place. Matter of fact, that's probably most people. I don't know what the percentages are. I have no clue, but it is very, very rare that I run across somebody in personal life, business life, right here on YouTube, in my groups, anywhere, that I run into somebody where they truly go, yeah, I went out there and I tried my dream and I got it. Or maybe they didn't get it, but they sure as heck are happy that they tried. They gave it the run. They gave it their best effort, and that's all you can do at that stage. It just didn't work out. It is very, very rare I run into folks like that. It is exceedingly common for me to run into folks like, yeah, I wish I would have tried that. Yeah, I thought about doing that, but I didn't. Yeah, that's always been my dream, but that's just a dream. I'm not going to worry about it. It's amazing to me how different those two are. But it is one of the biggest regrets with retirement is not taking that chance and pursuing your dreams, which the blacklist can help set you up for exactly that on as little as $300,000 and as quickly as 1 year, to where you can then take that chance and chase your dream and not have to worry about financial freedom anymore because you'll have it. Check that out. It's the pinned comment down there. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.